7:38, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk, 99.7 WTN. Appreciate you listening. Want to get right to the Newsmaker Hotline. Congressman Andy Ogles is joining us. Congressman, as always, thanks for being on Nashville's Morning News.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
So, of course, you're a big topic of conversation last week. I think it was on Friday, where, and this is the headline, U.S. Congressman Andy Ogles stirs outrage with Gaza comment, kill them all. Now, I played the video on the air, and the problem is there's a lot of loud noises going on. It sounded like you were in an airport. But clearly what you were not saying is that every person in Gaza needs to be killed. I mean, one, that's how some people were trying to interpret the comments. I do have the audio, but it's very loud. Most people were listening on Thursday and Friday when I played it. But talk a little bit about that, because there are a lot of local media, especially, that were trying to make hay out of this controversy. So let's talk a little bit about that. First of all, where were you?
So I just left committee, so I was actually in the one of the tunnels at the Capitol, and this group of individuals. There's about 10 of them. They're walking around me. They've got their phones and a camera, and that's normal. But one of my team members also had a camera, so we had the full footage of the exchange. But basically what happened was they clipped, and because my very last statement is I clarify. And I refer to everyone in Hamas. Like, that's my statement, and I keep moving on.
Yep.
So there's all this hubbub, and I'm this clip's going viral internationally. And then my comms director texts me and says, Joy Reid is defending you on MSNBC. And for a split second, I thought hell froze over. But I literally thought she was joking, because, here I am. I'm the fourth most conservative member of Congress. I am a member of the Freedom Caucus. I'm on the board of the Freedom Caucus, for Pete's sake. And I have MSNBC, and we sent them the entire clip, and they played it. And then Steve Cohen, Congressman, Democrat out of Memphis, also defended me. So it's one of those silly things that these groups do. They'll shove a camera in your face. I could have phrased it better, so the phrases were reversed, so they couldn't have clipped that part out. But you know what? My name ID is near 100% at this point, and it is what it is. But here's what you've got to understand, is that I've seen the footage that most people haven't seen. And what they were sexually assaulting babies and toddlers and women. They were carving into people while they were being sexually assaulted. They were cutting off breasts and genitals of men while they were being sexually assaulted. They literally were torturing people, and it was systematic. These people are cruel. It is evil incarnate on earth. And it ticks me off that Joe Biden is somehow trying to get Israel to stop. Look, if those people existed in the United States or on our southern border, I would be incensed if my country didn't defend our homeland. Now, we can have a separate conversation about the southern border in a moment, but, there would be a moral obligation to protect your wife, your daughter, your mother, your neighbor. And so we have to get out of the way of Israel once and for all, take off the muzzle, and let them do what they have to do to protect their homeland. And the context of this is there was land for peace over 20 years ago. And for the last 20 years, Hamas has been attacking Israel. The time for peace is over. It's time for Israel to do what Israel needs to do. And like I said in my follow-up quote, if Israel needs to go biblical, then so be it. That's their decision.
Well, and the thing is that when you're just trying to go about your business in Washington, D.C., and you've got all of these folks, they're like screaming maniacs. I mean, they're just, I'm assuming they rush you in the hallway, and you're just trying to get from point A to point B, and they've got all their cameras and all their phones and everything, and they're just screaming, expletives, and they're screaming in your face. Is it tempting to just continue to just walk and not give them the time of day? Because I don't know. I'm wondering if anything good is ever going to come out of a conversation with these types of people.
Well, a lot of members of Congress won't, quote unquote, walk and talk. I do. I have a pretty consistent policy. I'm not going to say anything in private that I'm not going to say in public. And so I tend not to have a filter. You know that. It gets me in trouble sometimes, as we've seen last week. But I think that's why I won when I ran before, is what you see is what you get. If there's a policy you want to talk about, we'll have that conversation. We can agree to disagree. We can agree whatever. But you're going to know where I stand. And these people, for them to defend Hamas and the brutality that took place is unconscionable. And so I did get frustrated in the moment. I'll be honest with you. If you see the full clip, you can tell I get a little ticked off. That's on me. But at the same token, they took my clip out of proportion. But to their credit, they've given me millions of dollars worth of earned media. I couldn't have paid for the attention I've gotten over the last week. And so, and that's not why I did it, to be clear. But there was one article written that I had the courage to say the quiet part out loud, meaning that everybody knows what needs to be done in Israel. Most people are afraid to say it, and we need to get out of the way and let Israel clean house in Gaza.
And Congressman, it's not every day that you get both Steve Cohen and Joy Reid defending you.
Right.
So, there's
like
that.
They were serving snow cones in hell the other day. I literally thought it was a joke. When she texted me and said, Joy Reid's defending you, like, there's that moment, that check, like, Joy Reid, no.
Yeah, I was like a bucket lister for you, perhaps.
Right. I thought I had the wrong person for a second. But no, I watched the clip, and sure enough.
Congressman Andy Ogles is joining us. Horrible story over the weekend, Congressman. One, Laken Riley was killed by an illegal alien, and this is a horrible story. She was out for a run there in Georgia, and she was attacked by this illegal alien. And so, obviously, this is a story that is not really unique these days. We keep hearing these stories where innocent people are being killed or beaten up or some sort of a victim of their crime. The governor for the state of Georgia, Governor Kemp, was on Fox News over the weekend. I want to play you his reaction. Then I want your reaction.
That's the thing that's so frustrating about this, guys, is this is what we've been asking for. And this is what we've been talking about for over 2 years now. In a recent September letter that the Republican governors wrote to the president and the administration, who are these people? Where are you sending them? And we have yet to receive that information. And now something like this happens.
Has anyone from the administration reached out to you?
Not to my knowledge. I haven't heard anything, especially since we sent the letter. But as you know, I've made 5 trips to the border like a lot of other Republican governors. We've raised the issue of the problems with an unsecure southern border for well over 2 years now, really at the start of the Biden administration, because
we all know what the Biden administration has not done at the southern border, which is defend the southern border. Congressman, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I've been saying, really since I began Congress, that every murder, every rape, every carjacking, every burglary, every assault at the hands of an illegal can be laid at the feet of Joe Biden and Secretary Mayorkas. They have a constitutional obligation to secure our borders. One of the very things that makes us a sovereign nation, a strong military, fair and open elections, and sovereign, secure borders. And some would argue we don't check all 3 of those boxes. Some would argue we don't check any of those boxes right now. And so this is just one case that kind of puts a fine point on what's been happening under this administration, where you have millions of people that are here illegally. We know this has been testified before Congress, so I'm not sharing anything I shouldn't, that we have terror cells operating on our soil, in our country, within our borders because of Joe Biden and this open southern border. We've caught people on the terror watch list at our southern border. We have caught people with bombs on our southern border. So this is like Groundhog Day. And a lot of the information, there's more information that I can't share, but this is almost on a daily basis where we're apprehending, we're intercepting, we're catching things on the southern border that shouldn't even be approaching. Because if we had a southern border, there would not be this deluge. And I had an interaction with Homeland Security. So a few weeks ago, there was this press release, this memo that got out saying that 600 or so illegals were coming to Nashville. So I reached out to Homeland saying, what the heck's going on? When did they arrive? Where are they? And the simple answer was, we don't know. And so they have no idea where these people are. They're not tracking them. Someone gets processed at the southern border. They literally just give an address. So they could give an address in San Diego, but then go to Chicago. They could give an address in Chicago, but then go to Atlanta. They give an Atlanta address and come to Nashville, and so on and so on. So once they're released, there's no accountability. None. They're just set loose. And there's a lot of these folks that wish ill on our country, whether it's through selling drugs, whether it's through, I mean, again, on and on. I can belabor the point, but we know this administration, this is why this 2024 election is so important. This is why it's important for Nikki Haley to drop out, why we've got to rally around President Trump, why we've got to focus on November, and why we've got to win, because another 4 years of Joe Biden or whoever's their nominee will destroy this country.
Congressman, I have like a minute and a half left. Let me ask you, there was an article out there, and it's making the rounds, where they talk about how the Republican Party in the House of Representatives, one of the reasons why we're losing so many Republicans deciding to retire, i.e. Mark Green, is because it's so dysfunctional. And one word that I saw was toxic. In a minute or so, what is your perspective on that accusation?
Yeah, I think that's just the left trying to attack passive aggressively the Republican Party. Look, if you're someone who has experience, like so the chairman of my committee, Patrick McHenry, he's retiring. But look, if Trump wins, we're going to win the Senate. So we're going to have the House and the Senate. What better time to become a lobbyist, because you're going to have all of this legislation that's going to pass through both houses, that's going to make it to the president's desk. If we happen to lose the White House and ultimately lose the House of Representatives, you've been a chairman of a committee. You've been in Congress for 10 years. You don't want to be in the minority. You still can go and lobby and fight for these things. So in the case of Mark Green, you know, I think it's clear what he's doing. He's going to go help Donald Trump this summer. I think he's vying for another position, whether that's running for governor or working in the administration. But that being said, this would be the time that you're going to see a wave of retirements, because this is the time that these guys, or gals, quite frankly, go work for a lobbying firm and go make a gazillion dollars because they have such knowledge of how DC works.
All right, Andy Ogles, Congressman Andy Ogles. As always, thank you very much for joining us here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Lots to talk about. It is 7:51.